Hi, welcome to an Engineers Week kind of typical classroom structure. This is just something that we have done over the years and intend to work really well. You're always open to use your own, talk, whatever will get the kids into engineering. So what we usually do, we start out, we look around the classroom and we say, okay, before we start anything, who here knows what an engineer is? And some of them will raise their hand and they'll say, oh, I think it's like someone who drives a train, or what we're looking for is kind of answers like, someone who designs things, who makes things better, who will plan things out, create something new. Then we will transition to say, well, what's the difference between an engineer and a scientist? Because some of you kids have probably done science projects. So we ask, has anyone here done any science projects? So I'll ask, has anyone done any science projects? Yes, you. I see you are doing a science project right now. How many licks does it take to clean a paw? So, for example, how many licks does it take to clean a paw? How is that science? That's trying to discover, that's learning about the natural world. That's what science is. What an engineer does is he takes that and tries to make it better. And so we'll go from there, we'll try to look around the classroom. Is there anything in this classroom that was made by an engineer? And people will look around and they'll say, oh, the TV over there, or the computer. And then I'll be like, what about what you're sitting on? Or what you're, writing on? And they'll be like, oh, the chair. And I'm like, yeah, what do you think the first chair ever looked like? So, hopefully they'll say, they might have a hard time. You could say, okay, what about if I was a caveman or a cave person, and I go from fire to work, and I want to sit down. What does Ugg the caveman sit down on? So everyone says, oh, a rock. I'm like, all right, well, is a rock comfortable? And they're like, no. So go from there, and you can, just say, well, how do we make this better? And you're always, remember, always try to get the class involved. So if there's, be like, does anyone have any ideas how to make this better? And you try to get them to answer you and give you ideas, and then say, okay, now you have that. How do we make that better? And so through that process, you become an engineer. And you try to maybe also, bring in other kinds of engineering. So there's all kinds of different engineers. There's electrical engineers who work on the, computers. There's civil engineers that work on the roads. Environmental engineers that work on, the environment, and everything around us. And so from there, this whole demo, when you're talking, you can make this 5 minutes. You can make this 15 minutes. Try to figure out how long the project is going to take, because from here you're going to want to transition into actually starting the kids onto their project. So once they are finished with their project, you're going to want to wrap things up. So you're always going to save about 5 minutes at the end so that you can bring it all together. So you'll find a group maybe that's done a good job, ask why their project was really good, because kids, they like talking about their projects. And so you say, okay, so how does this how do you become an engineer? Now that you've been many engineers, how do you become a real life engineer? And the answer is obviously it's school, and it's school in every in not only math and science but also history, because you're looking back and you're thinking about designs in the past and bringing them today, and that's history, right? You're learning about the past, and again, incorporate their project that they just did in that. There's writing, because you have to tell everyone about it. Foreign languages, you have to talk to people in other places in the world. And also how much school you want to talk about. So you need high school, college, and sometimes even a graduate degree. So you'll also want to say that engineers make a really good amount of money, right? Because that's, for the older kids especially, either you can bring that up in the beginning of class, if you haven't, you can bring it up at the end, that an engineer's salary is some of the highest salaries that you can make. It's also important that you talk about the role of women in engineering, because right now there are very few women in engineering, and we're trying to really accelerate that and get them interested and keep them interested, because especially up until about 7th and 8th grade, a lot of interest, and then somehow right around that late middle school into high school, there's a lot of people who don't go any further. So we want to try to keep that going. So thanks.